The auction house on Station Veraxis was crowded with beings from all over the galaxy. Traders and smugglers pushed through the crowd, looking at strange creatures locked behind glowing energy fields. The air smelled like sweat and fear. An alien with 6 arms stood on a stage, shouting prices and waving at each animal in turn. Jake Morrison stood near the back wall, trying to stay warm. His cargo ship was getting repairs in the docking bay and he had 3 hours to kill. The auction house was better than sitting in the cold metal corridors outside. He wiped engine grease off his hands with a dirty cloth and watched the show. Rich aliens bid crazy amounts of money on beautiful creatures. A bird with gold feathers sold for 5,000 credits. A cat-like animal with purple fur went for even more. Jake shook his head. He barely made that much in a month of hauling cargo across space. Then something changed. The 6-armed alien dragged out a new creature. It was about the size of a big dog, but it looked sick. White fur covered its body in patches like someone had pulled chunks out. Its eyes were pink and watery, squinting against the bright lights. One ear pointed up while the other flopped down. The creature's legs shook as it tried to stand. Lot 247, the alien announced in a bored voice. A young Fenrix from the outer colonies. White version. Starting bid is 50 credits. The crowd made disgusted noises. Someone laughed out loud. Jake frowned and moved closer to get a better look. The creature was terrified. He could see it shaking. 50 credits? A tall alien with scales called out. I would not pay 5. Look at that thing. Something is wrong with it. The fur is terrible, another buyer added. Fenrix are supposed to be silver or black. Beautiful animals. This one looks diseased. The 6-armed alien looked annoyed. The creature is healthy. It just has no color in its fur. Does anyone bid 50 credits? Nobody spoke. The white wolf pressed itself flat against the stage floor. Jake could see its ribs through the thin fur. Someone had not been feeding it enough. 20 credits, a voice finally said. Maybe good for meat. The wolf made a sad crying sound that made Jake's stomach hurt. He had seen a lot of bad things in his years flying cargo ships, but this felt different. This felt wrong. 10 credits, another alien offered. Even for meat, it is barely worth the trouble. The 6-armed alien looked ready to give up and take the creature away. That was when Jake heard his own voice ring out across the room. 200 credits, every head turned to stare at him. The 6-armed alien's eyes went wide with surprise. Did you say 200 credits? The alien asked slowly. Jake pushed through the crowd toward the stage. His heart was beating fast. What was he doing? He barely had enough money for fuel. Yeah, 200. That is 4 times what you wanted. Whispers spread through the crowd. The scaly alien who had mocked the wolf stared at Jake like he was crazy. Human, are you broken in the head? Why waste money on that ugly thing? Jake ignored him. He kept his eyes on the white wolf. Up close, he could see old scars on its legs. Its paws were cracked and bleeding. But when the pink eyes met his brown ones, Jake saw something important. He saw intelligence. He saw understanding. This was not just an animal. This was someone who could think and feel. 200 credits, Jake said again, louder this time. You taking my bid or not? The 6-armed alien recovered quickly. He obviously wanted to get rid of the wolf fast. Sold to the human in Bay 47. Go to the payment terminal. Jake paid the money, watching his savings disappear from his account. People laughed and whispered as he walked past them. He did not care. An attendant brought the wolf over, still trapped in a floating harness that kept it off the ground. Jake knelt down so he was at eye level with the creature. Hey there, he said softly. You are safe now. Nobody will hurt you anymore. The wolf stared at him with those strange pink eyes. It was still shaking, but it had stopped crying. Jake slowly reached out his hand, palm down, letting the wolf sniff him. After a long moment, a small pink tongue licked his knuckles. Jake smiled. All right, let us get out of here. He turned off the floating harness and stood up. The wolf wobbled on weak legs but did not run away. Instead, it followed Jake toward the exit, staying close to his feet. Behind them, the auction continued with the next lot. Jake did not look back. The docking bay was cold and smelled like fuel. Jake's ship, the Rusty Comet, sat in its assigned spot with the cargo doors open. The ship was old and covered in dents and patches, but it was home. Jake led the wolf up the metal ramp and into the main cabin. Here we go, he said, pulling out a medical kit from under his seat. Let me see how bad it is. The wolf let Jake examine it, though it jumped at every touch. Jake found old injuries that had healed wrong. He found signs that someone had hit the wolf many times. He found cuts and bruises and evidence that the creature had not eaten well in a long time. Anger burned hot in his chest as he worked, cleaning wounds and applying medicine with the supplies he had. "Someone really hurt you bad, huh?" Jake muttered. The wolf watched him with those smart pink eyes, and Jake was sure it understood every word. He set out a bowl of water and some basic food bars. The wolf approached slowly, sniffed the food, then ate so fast Jake worried it would choke. "Easy there," he said. "There is more food. You do not have to rush." But the wolf kept eating until everything was gone. Then it looked up at Jake as if waiting to be punished for being hungry. When nothing bad happened, confusion crossed its alien face. Jake sat down on the floor, leaning against a cargo box. "I am Jake, by the way. Do not know if you can understand me, but seems polite to say. I fix ship engines and life support systems. Pretty boring work." He paused. "I need to call you something." "How about Luna? Seems right for someone with white fur." The wolf tilted its head to one side. The floppy ear swung out at an angle. Then, very carefully, it walked over and curled up next to Jake's leg. Jake slowly reached down and put his hand on the wolf's back. It went stiff but did not move away. "Yeah," Jake said quietly. "Luna works. Welcome to the ship, girl." Outside, Station Veraxis kept running like it always did. Traders made deals. Smugglers moved illegal goods. Rich aliens bought and sold whatever they wanted. But inside the rusty comet, something small and damaged had just been given a chance to heal. Jake did not know it yet, but his choice to buy one scared wolf would change everything. It would change his life. It would change Luna's life. Eventually, it would change how the whole galaxy thought about right and wrong. In the darkness of the cargo hold, Luna's pink eyes slowly closed. For the first time in her short, painful life, she felt something new. She felt safe. Jake sat with her for a long time, just being there, letting her know she was not alone anymore. His hand rested gently on her white fur, and he made a silent promise. Nobody would hurt her again. Not while he was alive to stop it. The repairs on the rusty comet would be done in the morning. Then they would leave this station and head out into deep space, away from the crowds and the cruelty. Just a mechanic and a rescued wolf, trying to survive in a galaxy that did not care about either of them, but they would care about each other. And sometimes that was enough. 3 weeks had passed since Jake bought Luna at the auction. The change in her was amazing. Luna had gained weight. Her ribs did not stick out anymore. The patchy white fur had grown back thick and beautiful. Her pink eyes no longer looked scared all the time. She walked with her head up now, confident and alert. She had even claimed the co-pilot chair as her own special spot. Jake had spent his free time learning about Fenrics. What he found out was interesting and a little scary. Fenrics were not just smart animals. They were almost as intelligent as people. They came from a world with 3 moons and lived in packs. They could solve problems and learn things quickly. They could live for 60 years. They were also illegal to own in most parts of space. The law said they were too smart to be pets and too dangerous to be weapons. Someone had broken serious laws to catch Luna and sell her at that auction. "Which means I am a criminal now too," Jake told Luna as he checked the ship's controls. "But I have been called worse things." Luna sat in her chair, watching the stars fly past the windows. She made a soft huffing sound that Jake had learned meant she was happy. The rusty comet was carrying mining equipment to a place called Outpost Ceres. The job did not pay much, barely enough for fuel, but Jake liked the quiet routes. Out here, nobody asked questions about his passenger. "All right, Luna," Jake said as they got close to the outpost. "I have to deliver this stuff. You need to stay on the ship, okay? Some of these miners get nervous around predators, and I would rather not explain where you came from." Luna tilted her head to one side, then yawned. Her mouth was full of very sharp teeth. Jake took that as a yes. The delivery went fine at first. Jake unloaded the heavy equipment with help from the outpost workers. He got his payment and was walking back to his ship when he heard shouting. A crowd had gathered in the main plaza. Jake's brain told him to keep walking. Getting involved in station problems was a good way to lose work. But his feet carried him toward the noise anyway. In the middle of the plaza, 2 big human miners stood over a fallen Skreeks. The Skreeks was one of the bug-like aliens that worked on many stations. It was curled up on the ground and blue blood leaked from cracks in its shell. "Should have watched where you were going, Bug," one of the miners snarled. He was huge with scarred hands and mean eyes. "Please." The squeaks clicked in broken words. Accident. Did not mean to bump you. Accident. The other miner kicked the squeaks hard. People in the crowd looked away. You got your disgusting blood on my boots. Jake felt that same feeling he had at the auction house. That twist in his stomach that said this was wrong. He knew he should walk away. Getting in fights on stations was stupid, but his mouth started talking before his brain could stop it. Hey, Jake called out. That is enough. The miners turned to look at him. The big one smiled in a nasty way. This is not your business, friend. I am making it my business, Jake said calmly. The squeak said sorry. Let it go, or what? The miner stepped toward Jake, cracking his knuckles. You going to make us? Jake sighed. He really did not want to fight. Look, I am just saying there is no reason to beat on someone who is already down. Just walk away. I think we will do what we want, the miner growled. He swung his fist at Jake's face. Jake ducked under the punch and hit back, connecting with the miner's jaw. The big man stumbled backward, surprised. His friend rushed at Jake from the side, and they both crashed into a merchant's table. The fight was fast and brutal. Jake was outnumbered. He took several hard hits to his ribs and face. He managed to drop one miner with a punch to the stomach, but the big one was tough. He kept coming. Jake's vision started to get blurry when he heard a sound that made everyone stop moving. A howl. It was not like any sound Jake had heard before. It was deep and strong. A sound that made something ancient in his brain wake up and scream danger. The crowd scattered in all directions as a white shape shot across the plaza. Luna hit the big miner like a missile. She did not bite him. She did not try to kill him. But she put her front paws on his chest and showed him all her teeth up close. The miner went completely pale and froze. Luna, no, Jake said through his bleeding lip. Get down, girl. Luna looked at him, then back at the miner. She gave one more warning snarl that made the man whimper like a baby. Then she stepped off him and walked to Jake's side. Her fur was standing up, and she put herself between Jake and both miners. The plaza went silent. Everyone stared at Luna with fear and wonder. Jake could see people pulling out their phones, probably calling station security. Time to go, Jake said quietly. He helped the squeak stand up. You okay? Yes, thank you, human. You did not have to help me. Yeah, well, someone once told me doing the right thing is its own reward. Mostly it just gets me punched, but today I had backup. Jake looked at Luna. Come on, girl, before security gets here. They ran back to the rusty comet. Jake sealed the doors and started the engines without waiting for permission to leave. As the ship lifted away from the outpost, he could see security vehicles racing toward the plaza. That was too close, Jake said, checking their flight path. Luna, I told you to stay on the ship. Luna sat in her chair looking proud of herself. She did not seem sorry at all. Jake could not help but laugh even though it hurt his bruised ribs. Okay, fine. Thank you for saving me. But seriously, we need to be more careful. If the wrong people figure out what you are, they will try to take you back or kill you. I am not going to let either of those things happen. Luna made a soft sound and leaned her head against Jake's arm. In that moment, Jake understood something important. This was not a pet he had rescued. This was a partner. This was family. All right, he said quietly. We are in this together now. You and me against the universe. Sound good? Luna's tail hit the chair once hard. Jake took that as a yes. As the rusty comet jumped into hyperspace, leaving Outpost Ceres far behind, Jake set a course for the border regions. Out there, people did not ask many questions and laws were flexible. It was not much of a plan, but it was something. What Jake did not know was that his actions were being noticed. Word traveled fast in certain parts of the galaxy. There were people who found the story of a human defending the weak very interesting. Some of those people wanted to meet Jake Morrison. Others wanted to make sure he never interfered again. The galaxy was watching, and Jake and Luna's quiet life was about to get very complicated. Jake spent the next few days teaching Luna simple commands and learning how she communicated. She was smart, scary smart. She understood far more than any animal should. When Jake talked to her, she listened like she knew exactly what he meant. One night, as they drifted through empty space, Jake sat in the cargo hold with Luna lying beside him. He had been thinking about what happened at the outpost. You knew I was in trouble, did not you? Jake said, scratching behind Luna's ears. You heard the fight and came to help even though I told you to stay. Luna looked up at him with those pink eyes. She made a low sound in her throat. I get it. You were protecting your pack. That is what Fenrics do, right? Take care of their own. Jake was quiet for a moment. I guess that makes us a pack now. Just the two of us. Luna's tail wagged slowly. She pushed her head against Jake's hand, asking for more scratches. We make a pretty weird pack, Jake continued. A broken-down mechanic and a wolf the galaxy did not want. But maybe that is okay. Maybe the misfits need to stick together. Outside the ship, stars burned in the endless dark. Inside, a bond was forming that would prove stronger than either of them knew. A human and a Fenrix. Two beings who should never have met, becoming something more than the sum of their parts. Jake did not know about the network yet. He did not know about the underground movement of people fighting against cruelty and exploitation. He did not know that his simple act of kindness at an auction house had marked him as someone special. But he would find out soon enough. Forces were already moving. Plans were being made, and Jake Morrison was about to be offered a choice that would define the rest of his life. For now, though, he was content to sit with Luna in the quiet of his ship. Two outcasts finding comfort in each other's company. Tomorrow would bring whatever it brought. Tonight they had each other, and that was enough. 2 months after rescuing Luna, Jake sat in a dirty bar on Port Helix. He was waiting for someone who wanted to hire him for a cargo job. The person was 20 minutes late. Jake sipped his drink and tried to be patient. Luna lay under the table at his feet, her white fur hidden in the shadows. "You Morrison?" Jake looked up. A human woman stood next to his table. She looked to be in her 40s, with short gray hair and sharp green eyes. She wore practical clothes like someone who worked on cargo ships. "Depends who is asking," Jake said carefully. "Name is Kate Sullivan. I run supplies to the frontier colonies." She pointed at the empty chair. "Can I sit?" Jake shrugged. Kate sat down across from him. Under the table, Luna stirred but stayed quiet. "I'm not here about cargo," Kate said in a low voice. "I am here because of what you did on Outpost Series." Jake went tense. "I do not know what you are talking about." "Sure you do not." Kate smiled a little. "Human mechanic stops 2 miners from beating a Skreeks to death, then gets saved by a creature that should not exist in normal space. Station security pulled the video footage before they deleted it. One of my crew saw it and sent it to me. If you are looking for a reward or planning to turn me in, just do it," Jake said flatly. "I am not doing either one." Kate leaned forward. "I am here to offer you real work, better than the scraps you have been taking. But more importantly, I am here to tell you that you are not alone." "Not alone in what?" "In caring about what happens to people." Kate pulled out a small data chip and slid it across the table. "There is a network, Jake. People like us who are tired of watching the galaxy treat living beings like property. Traders, mechanics, ship captains, even some officials. We have been working quietly for years to make things better." Jake stared at the chip. "What kind of better?" "We run something like an underground railroad. When we find creatures or beings trapped in bad situations, we get them out. We move them to safe worlds. We help them find work and give them a second chance. Like you gave your friend down there." Kate nodded toward Luna under the table. Luna's head came up slightly. "Why are you telling me this?" Jake asked. "Because you already proved you will risk something to do what is right. And because we need someone with your skills. A lot of the stations and ships where these bad things happen have security systems that need to be bypassed. You are a mechanic who knows ship systems inside and out. That makes you valuable." Jake picked up the data chip and turned it over in his fingers. "And if I say no?" "Then you say no, and we never had this talk." "But Jake, the things we have seen out here." Kate's face went dark. "The auction house where you found her was one of the nicer ones. There are places in the outer systems where thinking beings are treated worse than garbage. Someone needs to fight that." Jake thought about Luna. He remembered how she looked on that platform, scared and alone. He thought about the Skreeks on Outpost Series. He thought about all the times he had walked past suffering because it was not his problem. "What is on the chip?" he asked. "Coordinates for our next job. A breeding facility on Talon Station. They are raising Fenrix for illegal fighting rings. We have information that says there are at least 12 cubs there. Some of them are young like your girl was." Luna came out from under the table and put her head on Jake's knee. Her pink eyes looked up at him with that scary intelligence. 12 cubs, Jake repeated. "And you need me to do what exactly?" "Get us inside. The station's security is mostly automated. Old systems that a good mechanic could make malfunction temporarily. We have people ready to get the cubs out, but we need a door to open first." Jake finished his drink. Every smart part of his brain said this was a terrible idea. He would be risking his ship, his freedom, maybe his life. But Luna was still looking at him, and he thought about 12 more creatures just like her, trapped and suffering. When? Jake asked. Kate smiled. 3 days. Can you make it to Talon Station by then? I can make it in 2 if I push the engines hard. Good man. Kate stood up. Read everything on that chip. Remember it all, then destroy it. Do not tell anyone about this. When you get to Talon Station, dock at Bay 18. Someone will meet you there. She paused. Jake, I should warn you. What we do is dangerous. The people running these operations have money and connections. If we get caught, there will not be a trial. They will just make us disappear. Understood, Jake said. But I am in. Kate nodded and left the bar without another word. Jake sat alone for a moment, feeling the weight of what he had just agreed to. Then Luna licked his hand and he smiled. What do you think, girl? Ready to rescue some of your own kind? Luna's tail wagged. Jake took that as a yes. 3 days later, the rusty comet docked at Talon Station. Jake had read the information file many times. He knew the layout of the breeding facility, when the guards changed shifts and how the security systems worked. It was risky, but the plan was solid. A nervous alien with 6 arms met him at the dock. His name was Zix. He led Jake through the station's maintenance tunnels to a spot near the facility's main power box. 2 other people waited there. A human woman named Lisa and a big reptile alien whose name Jake could not say right. You are the mechanic? Lisa asked, looking Jake up and down like she did not trust him. That is what they tell me, Jake said. He looked at the power box and the security feeds that controlled access to the facility. This is old tech, probably 30 years out of date. Give me 20 minutes and I can make it think there is a power problem. Everything will lock down to prevent fire. That includes the automated guns. That is your window. How long will we have? The reptile alien asked. 5 minutes, maybe 7, before their engineers figure out it is fake and fix it manually. You need to be fast, Lisa nodded. We can do that. Zix, get the transport ready. Once we have the cubs, we need to move right away. Jake got to work, pulling panels and redirecting power with practiced hands. Luna watched from the shadows, her white fur almost glowing in the dim tunnel lights. As Jake worked, he could hear sounds from inside the facility, growls and whimpers that made his hands move faster. All right, he said finally. On my signal, you will have your window. 3, 2, 1 now. He triggered the fake power surge. Alarms started blaring throughout that part of the station. Inside the facility, lights went out. Automated locks opened with loud clicks. Lisa and the reptile alien moved fast, disappearing into the facility. Jake listened to the chaos inside, the sounds of cages opening and confused animals being guided out. Luna pressed against his leg, tense and ready. Come on, Jake said quietly, watching his timer. 4 minutes, 5. The sounds from inside changed, became more organized. 6 minutes. Lisa and the reptile alien came out, each carrying 2 small Fenrix cubs. Behind them, 12 more cubs followed, ranging from tiny babies to teenagers almost as big as Luna. Some had silver fur, some had black fur, and 2 more were white like Luna. Go, 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 Jake said. He could hear station security coming, their boots echoing in the tunnels. The group ran through the maintenance passages. The cubs followed with surprising order. Zix had a transport ship waiting with its doors open. They loaded the cubs with seconds to spare. The ship lifted away from the station just as security reached the docking bay. Jake flew the rusty comet right behind the transport, protecting it as they jumped to hyperspace. Only when they were safely away did he let himself breathe. We did it, Lisa said over the communication channel. Her voice was full of relief. All cubs are safe and healthy. Jake, I do not know how to thank you. Thank me by getting them somewhere safe, Jake said. He looked at Luna, who was watching the transport ship on the screen. They deserve better than what they had. They will get it, Lisa promised. There is a sanctuary on Vega 7. No questions asked, no records kept. They can live free there. After they split up from the transport, Jake set a course for the outer systems, keeping to the quiet routes. Luna seemed different now, more alert, more alive. It was like rescuing the other cubs had given her purpose. You did good, girl, Jake told her. Your people are safe now. Luna made a soft howl, and somewhere far away, Jake imagined he could hear the cubs howling back. That night, As Jake tried to sleep in his small room, he thought about Kate's words. A network of people who cared. Maybe the galaxy was not as cruel as he thought. Maybe there were enough good people out there to change things. The data chip Kate had given him was destroyed, but its message stayed with him. Jake Morrison was no longer just a mechanic trying to survive. He was part of something bigger now, something that mattered, and he was just getting started. Over the next few weeks, Jake got more messages. Requests for help from people he had never met. Some were real desperate calls from beings trapped in terrible places. Others were clearly traps set by corporations or criminals trying to find network members. Jake learned to tell the difference. The rusty comet became a lifeline. Jake and Luna moved escaped slaves to safety. They rescued workers being exploited. They smuggled victims away from traffickers and took them to safe places across the frontier. Kate connected him with other people in the network, and together they built a reputation as people who could not be bought or scared. But being well known came with problems. And those problems were about to catch up with Jake in a way he never expected. Jake was hauling supplies to a mining colony on Pershing Rock when he first noticed the ship following him. It was a sleek corporate cruiser, expensive and well-armed. It had been tailing him for 3 jumps now, always staying just far enough back to seem innocent. "We have company," Jake said to Luna. She moved to the co-pilot chair, alert and watching. "Let us see if they just want to talk or if they mean trouble." Jake changed course, heading toward a nearby asteroid field. The cruiser followed. As soon as the rusty comet entered the field, the cruiser sped up, closing the gap fast. Jake's control panel lit up with a warning. They had locked weapons on him. "Attention, unregistered vessel," a cold voice said over the radio. "Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." "Yeah, that is not happening," Jake replied. He dove the rusty comet between 2 huge asteroids, using the floating rocks for cover. Luna braced herself as the ship shook from near misses. The cruiser was faster and had better weapons, but Jake had spent years flying through dangerous places. He knew how to make his old ship move. He led them on a twisting chase through the asteroids, buying time to think. "This is your final warning," the voice said. "Surrender or be destroyed." Jake looked at his options. He could not outrun them forever, and his shields would not last long under their guns. He needed a plan fast. "Luna," he said. "Remember those emergency moves we practiced? The ones you hated?" Luna whined but moved to her safety harness. "That is my girl." Jake plotted a course straight at the biggest asteroid in the field, a rock the size of a small moon. The cruiser followed, probably thinking he would turn away at the last second. Jake did not turn away. Instead, at the very last moment, he killed the main engines and fired the side thrusters. The move spun the rusty comet around the asteroid like a stone on a string. The force slammed them both back in their seats, but the ship held together. They came out on the other side, moving backward, passing the confused cruiser as it tried to turn. Jake did not give them time to recover. He fired his weapons at the cruiser's engine pods. The shots were not enough to destroy the bigger ship, but they damaged it enough that it could not follow when Jake pushed his engines to maximum and jumped to hyperspace. "That was way too close," Jake said once they were safe. Luna uncurled from her harness, still shaking from the violent maneuvers. "Sorry, girl. I know you hate the spinning." But the encounter worried Jake. The cruiser had known where to find him, which meant someone was tracking his movements. He contacted Kate through their secure channel. "We have a leak," Kate said grimly when he explained what happened. "Someone in the network is giving information to the corporations. We have lost 3 people in the last month. All of them were grabbed right after their missions." "Any idea who the traitor is?" Jake asked. "We are working on it. Meanwhile, you need to be careful. Take only the most important missions and change your routes all the time." But being careful was not something Jake was good at. 2 days later, he got a message from Lisa, the woman who had worked with him at Talon Station. "Jake, I need help. It is urgent." They agreed to meet at a neutral station. Lisa looked terrible when she arrived. She had dark circles under her eyes and looked like she had not slept in days. "It is Zix," she said without greeting. "The 6-armed alien who helped us at Talon. He has been taken by a group called the Syndicate. They run most of the trafficking in this area, and they figured out he was involved in the rescue. They are going to execute him in public as a warning to anyone else who thinks about interfering." "Where?" Jake asked. "Obsidian Station, 3 days from now." "Jake, it is a trap. They know we will try to rescue him and they will be waiting."
"Kate says we should leave him."
"She says losing more people is not worth it." Jake was quiet for a moment, thinking. Luna sat beside him, her pink eyes fixed on Lisa. Kate is probably right, Jake said finally. Tactically, it makes sense, but tactics are not everything. Zix risked his life to save those cubs. We cannot just abandon him, so you will help? Lisa looked relieved and scared at the same time. I will help, but we need more than just us. Call everyone you trust in the network. If the syndicate wants to send a message, we will send one right back. Over the next 3 days, Jake put together a team. Kate came even though she thought it was a bad idea. The big reptile warrior from Talon Station joined them. A Skrix engineer named Clicks came too, saying he owed humans a debt after what happened on Outpost Ceres. Others came as well, drawn by the knowledge that one of their own needed help. They were not soldiers or fighters. They were mechanics, traders, and freight haulers, but they were determined. Obsidian Station was a fortress, heavily armed and watched. The syndicate had set up the execution in the station's main plaza, where everyone could see what happened to people who interfered with their business. Zix was chained to a post, badly beaten but still alive. This is crazy, Kate said as they reviewed the plan one last time. We are going to get killed. Probably, Jake agreed. But if we do not try, we are no better than the people we are fighting. Luna made a low, growling sound that Jake knew meant she agreed. The team split up, each taking a different entrance to the station. Jake and Luna went through the maintenance tunnels, following a route that Clicks had marked as having weak security. They came out near the plaza just as the syndicate boss began his speech. He was a huge alien named Grath, and he was talking about what happened to people who messed with his business. Any last words? Grath asked Zix in a mocking voice. Yes, a voice called out. Jake stepped into view. Luna walked beside him, her white fur bright in the harsh lights. Let him go. The plaza went silent. Grath stared at Jake with surprise and amusement. You must be Morrison, the human with the death wish. I was hoping you would come. Then you will not be disappointed. Jake raised his hand, and around the plaza his team came out of hiding. They were outnumbered 3-1, but they stood together. You think you can fight us? Grath laughed. You are fools. Kill them all. What happened next would be talked about for years. People would call it the Battle of Obsidian Station, though it only lasted about 10 minutes. Jake's team fought with desperate courage, using their knowledge of the station to their advantage. Kate shut down the security guns. Clicks caused a power failure that made half the station go dark. Lisa freed Zix while the reptile warrior fought off a dozen syndicate guards. And Luna became something else entirely. She moved through the chaos like a ghost, her white fur flashing in the emergency lights. She did not kill anyone, but she disabled them, using her speed and intelligence to take down fighters twice her size. Jake fought his way to Grath. The two of them traded blows in the center of the plaza. Grath was stronger, but Jake was faster and more desperate. When Grath raised a weapon to finish him, Luna jumped onto the big alien's back, snarling and clawing until Grath dropped the gun. Call them off, Jake gasped, picking up the weapon. Or this gets worse. Grath looked around at his fallen guards, at the determined faces of Jake's team. He had expected an easy fight. Instead, he had found people willing to die for what they believed. Retreat, Grath ordered his remaining forces. For now. The team escaped with Zix, running from Obsidian Station before more guards could arrive. They had won the battle, but Jake knew the war was far from over. As the rusty comet jumped to hyperspace, Jake sat in his small room with Luna at his feet. His body hurt from many wounds, and he knew there would be more fights ahead. The syndicate would not forget what happened here. But when he looked at his team, saw the hope in their eyes, saw Zix alive and free, Jake knew they had done something important. They had proved that compassion was not weakness. They had shown that ordinary people could stand against power and corruption. The network was no longer hiding. They had announced themselves, and the galaxy would have to pay attention. Jake scratched Luna behind her ears, and she looked up at him with those intelligent pink eyes. We started something, girl, he said quietly. Now we have to finish it. Luna's tail hit the deck, and somewhere far away, Jake imagined he could hear the howling of all the lives they had saved, celebrating their victory. The real fight was just beginning. 6 months after the fight at Obsidian Station, Jake sat in the cargo hold of his ship. Around him were representatives from 17 different species. Kate stood at the front with a holographic display showing how much their network had grown. We started as 12 people helping where we could, Kate said. Now we are 300 strong, working in 40 star systems. We have rescued over 2,000 beings from slavery and trafficking, but our success has made us a target. The hologram changed to show destroyed ships, burned safe houses, and captured members. Jake recognized some of the faces. Good people who had paid with their lives. The corporations and crime groups have joined forces against us, Kate continued. They call us terrorists and criminals. They have put prices on our heads and convinced governments to make us illegal. They want to show the galaxy that compassion is a crime. A Skreek's representative clicked nervously. What do you want us to do? Stop hiding, Kate said firmly. Go public. Tell the galaxy what is really happening. Show them the faces of those we saved. Make this a choice between profit and morality. They will kill us, a reptile warrior said bluntly. They are already trying to kill us, Jake spoke up. Luna lay at his feet, now fully grown and magnificent. The difference is, right now we are fighting in the dark. If we expose what is happening, we force everyone to pick a side. Most beings are decent. They just do not know how bad things are. You think they will care? The reptile sounded doubtful. The galaxy has always had slaves and exploitation. Why would this time be different? Jake thought about that day in the auction house, about the crowd that laughed at Luna, but he also thought about Zix, Lisa, Clicks, and all the others who had risked everything to help strangers. Because someone has to believe it can be different, Jake said. And maybe if enough of us believe it, we can make it true. The representatives argued for hours. Finally, they agreed. They would go public, but carefully. They would gather proof of the worst crimes, build a case that could not be ignored, and release it all at once across every communication network in space. Over the next month, Jake and his team worked constantly. They gathered testimony from survivors. They recorded video of trafficking sites. They found financial records showing how respected corporations made money from suffering. It was dangerous work. 3 more members died gathering evidence, but they kept going. The day before the planned release, Jake got a message from an unknown source. When he opened it, his blood went cold. The message showed surveillance photos of Kate, Lisa, Zix, and 12 other network leaders. Each photo had a target marker and a countdown timer showing 18 hours. We know where your friends are, a computer-generated voice said. You have one chance. Turn yourself into authorities on New Terra Station, and we will let them live. Continue your crusade and we will execute them all. You have 18 hours to decide. Jake stared at the message. Luna whined softly, sensing his fear. They are bluffing, Kate said when Jake told her. They want to stop the release by taking you out. Do not give in. What if they are not bluffing? Jake asked. Can you live with the deaths of everyone on that list? Kate was quiet for a long moment. No, she admitted. But Jake, if you surrender, everything we built falls apart. You are the symbol of this movement. The human who started it all by refusing to walk past suffering. Without you, we lose hope. Jake looked at Luna. She had grown into a magnificent creature, her white fur perfect, her pink eyes filled with intelligence and loyalty. She had been with him through everything, had saved his life more times than he could count. What do you think, girl? Jake asked quietly. Luna stood and walked to the exit, then looked back at Jake as if to say they were wasting time. Jake smiled. You are right. We do not negotiate with terrorists. Instead of surrendering, Jake did something unexpected. He took all the evidence they had gathered, added the syndicate's threat message, and released everything immediately, 12 hours ahead of schedule. He broadcast it on every news network, every social media platform, every communication channel he could access. The galaxy watched. They saw beings kept in cages like animals. They saw corporate financial records showing profit from misery. They saw auction houses where thinking creatures were sold like property. They saw Luna trembling on that platform 6 months ago, and then saw her now strong and free. And they saw Jake's final message. My name is Jake Morrison. I am a mechanic from Earth, nothing special. 6 months ago, I walked into an auction house and saw something that broke my heart. I could have walked away. Most days I wish I had. It would have been easier. But I did not walk away, and that choice led me here. I have met people from 100 different species who are tired of ignoring suffering. We built something together. A network of ordinary beings doing extraordinary things. We do not have armies or money. All we have is the belief that compassion matters, that life has value regardless of profit. The people who make money from suffering want to silence us. They threaten to kill my friends if I do not surrender. Maybe they will. Maybe they will kill me too. But here's what they do not understand. This is not about me. It is about a choice every being has to make. Do you walk past suffering or do you stop and help? The evidence is out there now. You have seen it. You cannot unsee it. What you do next is up to you. I hope you will choose compassion. I hope you will choose to be better than the systems that created this horror. And I hope that when you see someone suffering, you will remember that it only takes one person deciding to care to change everything. This is Jake Morrison, signing off. Whatever happens next, it has been an honor to fight beside you all. The response was immediate and huge. Protests erupted on every major station. Workers refused to work for corrupt corporations. Governments faced pressure to investigate trafficking. The syndicate's threat became public knowledge, and suddenly, they were the ones being judged. Within 2 days, the threatened executions were canceled. The syndicate could not afford to create martyrs when the whole galaxy was watching. Corporate sponsors started cutting ties with known traffickers, desperate to avoid public anger. It was not a total victory. The systems of exploitation did not collapse overnight, but cracks appeared in foundations that had seemed unbreakable, and through those cracks light began to shine. Jake stayed in hiding, knowing there were still powerful people who wanted him dead. But he continued his work more carefully now, always moving, always one step ahead. Luna stayed by his side, his constant companion and protector. 3 months after the broadcast, Jake got an unexpected message. It came through official channels, from the Galactic Council itself. Jake Morrison, you are invited to address the Council regarding sentient rights and anti-trafficking measures. Your testimony is requested in forming new protective laws. Transportation and security will be provided. Jake stared at the message in disbelief. Kate laughed when he showed it to her. You did it, she said. You crazy, stubborn human. You actually did it. We did it, Jake corrected. All of us. On the day of his testimony, Jake stood before representatives of 100 worlds. Luna sat beside him, a visible reminder of where this journey started. Jake was terrified. Speaking in public was not his strength, and the weight of expectation felt crushing. But then he looked at Luna, remembered that day in the auction house, and found his voice. He told them the truth. Not the clean version or the political version, but the real story of what he had seen. He showed them scars, both his and Luna's. He described the faces of beings he had rescued and those he failed to save. I am not a hero, Jake said in conclusion. I am just someone who could not walk away. But I learned something important. We are all connected, every species, every being. When we allow suffering, we make ourselves less. When we show compassion, we become greater. You have the power to change things. Real change, not just words on paper. Enforce the laws that exist. Create new ones where needed. Fund protection for the vulnerable. Support the networks already doing this work. Choose the hard right over the easy wrong. That is all any of us can do. Make the choice to care, and then do something about it. The galaxy is watching to see what you decide. The council talked for 3 days. In the end, they passed the Sentient Rights Protection Act, the most complete anti-trafficking law in galactic history. It was not perfect. There were loopholes and compromises, but it was a start. Jake did not stay for the celebration. He slipped away with Luna, returning to the rusty comet and the freedom of space. There was still work to do, beings who needed help, wrongs that needed righting. Scion Jake scratched Luna behind the ears. You know what is funny, girl? 6 months ago they were trying to sell you for 50 credits, said you were ugly and worthless. Now look at us. We changed the galaxy. Luna made her happy sound and her tail wagged. But we are not done yet, Jake continued. Not even close. You ready for the next adventure? Luna howled and the sound echoed through the ship like a promise. They had started something that could not be stopped. The network would keep growing, the movement would spread, and maybe the galaxy would become a little bit kinder. Jake Morrison had walked into an auction house 6 months ago with no plan beyond his next cargo job. He walked out with a companion,